Aha! There you are! I see you recognize me, Yahagi.
I can't trust you to those incompetents.
Careful! You have no idea what this world's really like.
Damn this thing. This won't be easy.
But I'm too damn stubborn to lose! Don't you so cocky, kid! Screw you!
Shogo Yahagi, a motorhead-loving cyclist, lives in an 80s Tokyo-like utopia, filled with the most futuristic retro tech and pop culture references that would even make early Family Guy seasons blush. After meeting and driving a young dancer by the name of Yui Takanaka to work and hanging with his friends in the most 80s anime opening montage I've ever seen, Shogo visits his friend Shinji. Shinji shows him a bike, a special bike.
Huge. So whose prototype is it? It's not a Suzuki or a Honda either.
Or a Yamaha or Kawasaki. 15,000 RPMs, 200 miles per hour. That's Formula One speed. But this thing wasn't built as a sports bike.
You're kidding, right? Man, oh man, where'd you pick this baby up?
This bike isn't any old, huge bike. It's a military prototype that transforms into a mech. Before Shogo, you or I find the truth of what it is, Shinji is killed by government agents, sending Shogo on a wild chase. Despite others' disapproval, Shogo is on a mission, avenge his friend and find the secret of this mysterious bike and its purpose. As he gets others involved in his mess of a quest, bodies pile, and the mystery of his utopian metropolis begins to shatter. Why is the pop singer Eve everywhere, and what exactly is she? Will Shogo find the truth on his perilous adventure, or will he end up like his friend? And what exactly is the Megazone 23?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's SHAYK'S.
Whether it was slinging crack in Black and Hispanic communities or waking up to watch Saturday morning cartoons, the 80s was a hell of a time. The 1980s was an era of unprecedented economic prosperity in Japan. There were exports of the time like the Sony Walkman or the Nintendo Famicom.
Don't you mean the NES?
Shut the fuck up! There were exports at the time like the Sony Walkman or Nintendo Famicom were making oodles of cash, and the Japanese consumerism was at a global all-time high like it had never been before. It was during then that the era, dubbed the golden era of anime, came to be. What truly made it so special was that the industry was run by the same people who grew up watching the first wave of anime, like Astro Boy, Gigantor, or Prince Planet. You know Prince Planet? I know Prince Planet. And then redefined it in their own image as adults. Works like Shinya Sadamitsu's Birth and 1984's Giant Gorg are two examples that speak to the quality and effort that was part of the era. Cell animation was in its prime, and both the advancements in technology and the specialized talent birthed visuals that, in my opinion, hold up better than some modern anime. Megazone 23 lies at the center of this golden age. It was an anime that didn't receive a toy sponsorship, something quintessential at the time that all shows and movies dealing with MECHS have. Furthermore, its rough and short development should have doomed the project, but instead became the first successful OVA and would usher in the OVA market boom of the 80s and early 90s. I'm SHAYK'S, and this is
We are off! I can't wait to fall to the dono! I can't wait to fall to the dono!
Let's talk about Noboru Ishiguro. He is the director of Megazone 23 and also the founder of Artland Animation, one of the very studios that animated the OVA. Noboru had a connection to manga and anime fairly early in his life, even debuting as a manga artist while still in high school. As he grew into adulthood, he found his way into the world of animation. He got his start in the industry by working on in-betweens for the 1963, my mic's all the way over there. He got his start in the industry by working on in-betweens for 1963's Tetsuya 28, known here in the West as 𝔸𝕟𝕒𝕚𝕨. He concurrently also worked on 1963's Astro Boy, doing keyframes. Over the course of his career, the man bounced around and worked on many different anime. The majority of his catalog consists of historical anime juggernauts such as Ishida no Joe and Moomin. However, it was his work storyboarding and co-directing all 26 episodes of Space Battleship Yamato that would propel his career forward and solidify the man's name within the industry. One of the highlights of Noboru's career was his work as chief director on Super Dimension Fortress Macross. Macross's success was not limited to finances, as it is, and I'm not kidding when I say this, the most important anime to ever exist. I am not hyperbolizing. It's foundational to every modern anime that exists today. Western audiences may have heard of the repackaged, recut, and redubbed version by the name of Robotech. I'm going a little off script here, so bear with me just for about 2 minutes. Here's a little bit of backstory about me. I've been watching anime as far back as I can remember. As a kid, I would catch reruns of Cowboy Bebop and Inuyasha with my mom, and it was also my mom who would introduce me to the very first anime that I watched all the way through, the 1980s Astro Boy. In addition to this, she showed me the original 60s Speed Racer before we went to see the film in theaters, and she tried to get me into 𝔸𝕟𝕚𝕚𝕚, but the Virgin Maker record store in our area never had the DVDs, and she didn't trust ordering stuff online at the time. Nowadays, I wish I was able to make her stop ordering stuff online. No, Mom, I don't need a toothbrush from Temu. I say all this because she also introduced me to Robotech. I remember really liking it as a kid, but I don't remember watching it all the way through. From the chunk that I did see as a kid, I could see why the anime was such a big deal. It was basically a mecha soap opera. So when I found out there was a lost, or at the very least a really hard to find Robotech movie named Robotech the Untold Story that was never released onto DVD or VHS, I already knew that for family movie night, I was gonna download that version and watch it. Internet piracy be damned. What I didn't know at the time was that I was actually watching the Harmony Gold cut / Canon Films cut of Megazone 23 instead of Robotech, the Untold Story. For context, Harmony Gold was the company that licensed, dubbed, recut, and essentially created Robotech out of footage of Macross. I had to be about 13 at the time because I remember that I was starting high school. That movie really stuck out to me, so imagine me scrolling through Tubi in 2025 and stumbling across Megazone 23. The memories rushed and flooded back to me with the feeling of nostalgia for nostalgia. As I watched Megazone 23, Robotech, the Untold Story, started making way more sense to me. Robotech the movie, or Robotech the Untold Story, was also spliced and combined with other anime footage, in this case with Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Macross, Macross's sequel series. The quality difference is so jarring, especially since it bounces back and forth between the two anime as one quote-unquote movie. The entire version is not very good. Case in point, this cut starts off with a horrible Star Wars-esque title crawl, which was also like criticized at the time. The movie got a limited release, and the reception consisted of mixed to positive reviews. Fans do not consider it to be canon to the Robotech timeline, and it was never officially released onto VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, or any streaming services. You, however, can watch it on YouTube for free, but if I'm going to be honest, just watch Megazone 23. Unless you're a humongous Robotech fan, or perhaps you're scared of getting a job application, you don't have to prove anything to anyone, so why waste your time? Back to the production history. With Ishiguro's very own animation studio and his own team made up of young animators who also worked on Macross and a number of other animation studios abroad, Megazone 23 began to take shape. I couldn't pinpoint the exact year, but at some point between the years of 1982 to 1984, Megazone 23 started production as a 26-episode anime named Megazone 23. With the quote-unquote real robot boom started by 1979's Mobile Suit Gundam, MECHS were at the forefront of the kinds of productions that were being greenlit. Ishiguro brought a young Shinji Aramaki onto the production team, and if that name rings a bell, that's because he's the same designer that helped work on the toys called Micromen, which was the basis for... In addition to Aramaki, character designer Toshihiro Hirano and Haruhiko Mikimoto were also brought in. All three worked on, might I add, Macross. Megazone 23 changed its title to Vanity City and then again to Megazone 23. Part of what makes Megazone 23 so influential to this day is the fact that it's an early OVA title, and though it isn't the very first OVA ever released, it was the very first one that was successful. It wasn't originally slated to be released as an OVA either. The show went from being planned as a 26-episode series to an OVA due to its toy sponsors at the time completely pulling out or not hopping on to the project. With a distinct lack of sponsor, Ishiguro was unable to sell Megazone 23 as a standard-length TV show to networks and distributors, so the team was forced to pivot and focus on the new and untested VHS and Laserdisc OVA market. Thus, the team condensed the 26-episode season into a 90-minute OVA. My god. If you've watched any of my previous reviews, then you know that 1984's OVA birth was a financial failure. What I neglected to mention in its review is the fact that it only sold 4,793 tapes in its first year. In contrast, Megazone 23 sold 26,618 tapes in its first year alone. And that isn't even including any of the figures from rental sales either. So yeah, Megazone 23 definitely made its money back. The gamble of releasing it as an OVA paid off. And if you don't believe me, there's 2 sequels after this one. So with all this production out of the way, it begs the question, is Megazone 23 even any good? If you want the short answer, I feel that Megazone 23 is one of the most important, damn near quintessential 1980s anime that you need to watch at least once before you die. But does that make it perfect? No. If I'm going to be completely honest, on my first viewing of Megazone 23, I knew I had walked into something epic, but I didn't truly know or understand what exactly it was that I had stumbled across. I definitely knew I didn't step into dookie dog shit from its visuals, elite character design, and beautifully illustrated background settings and environments. Megazone 23 is a visual spectacle and one of the best the 80s had to offer within the OVA market, if I may say, during the decade. But what makes the environments in Megazone 23 feel so real is that they were based on real places in Tokyo. From the streets of Tokyo to Yui and her roommate's apartment, the animators and production team made sure that each location, movement, and space drawn felt lived in. I feel like the evolution of anime as a whole can be traced back to Megazone 23's existence visually. Megazone 23 is a clear example of what came to define the 80s OVA market. It has motorcycles, nudity, and explicit themes, cool robots, blood, mystery, rebellious characters, and oh yeah, a soundtrack that fucks. Yeah, sadly I can't play any of the music from Megazone 23 because copyright will drag me to hell and back, but when I say this music is good, this soundtrack is so heat I thought it was T-Girl Pussy. From its background tracks to Eve's propaganda music, it's something special. Then there's the characters. I would describe what I have as a love-hate relationship with this cast of characters, especially with our main lead, Shogo. Shogo, by all definitions, is an idiot. He has ample amount of time to be able to get rid of his robot transforming mech bike, but keeps deciding not to.
It'll do 200! And it even survived a head-on collision with a beamer.
The story tries to make it seem as if he's doing this out of necessity to find the truth about the bike's secrets.
To be perfectly honest, even though it's scary, I just can't let whatever happened to Shinji go unanswered.
But really, it seems like he's also getting distracted at every turn. ADHD be damned. But I don't want you to assume that I dislike Shogo as a protagonist. I personally just am very mixed, and I feel like he's a small symptom of the anime's biggest issue. The thing I like about Shogo is his determination to avenge his friend and find out the truth of the world and society he's living in. I like the fact that he cares about his friends, the people around him, and I like that he also is a bit of a drama queen.
So let's talk about it.
I'm sorry, Yui. My mind's all messed up. I don't know where to turn. What should I do?
It's clear that Megazone 23 was supposed to be a TV show with the amount of plot crammed into this 90-minute OVA. It's a lot to follow for the amount of time given. The characters could only be further fleshed out with the time a series would have given them. From what I see, I'm genuinely interested in the development of its characters. For an anime that's juggling about 4 main protagonists and a bunch of other side characters, it does a decent job at keeping them all engaging to watch. I feel like Yui's character design is amazing, however her character is lacking to me. She's a standard female 80s anime love interest, nothing deeper. She's a dancer who lives with her 2 roommates. Her whole thing is to be snappy towards Shogo and to also be his love interest. She has no real agency at any point in the anime, which sucks because she would have been a more engaging character if she was more involved in Shogo's quest. Instead, she exists to fulfill the trope of damsel in distress. I also feel so mixed about the chemistry between her and Shogo. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it really isn't.
You may laugh at this, but it's my dream to stand on a Broadway stage.
Oh no, I think that's great.
Hey, if you wanted to come.
To the TV station? Yeah, I've always wanted to see inside one of those.
They still have cute moments despite Shogo having no riz.
Sometimes I think it's the best it'll ever be. It feels good.
Better than sex?
Oh, please.
I blame my lack of support or enthusiasm on their relationship on one scene in particular. Yui nearly gets assaulted by the boss/manager of her dance company. Shogo saves her and then she calls him a jerk, and then he slaps her out of jealousy because she was going to be assaulted by her boss.
Stupid bitch!
Her response to all of this is that Shogo has ruined her chances for a career advancement.
Coming in and grabbing me like you own me! Just when I was about to get the lead role.
Stupid bitch!
So, not to harp on this section any longer, I'm gonna chalk this part out to it being the 80s. Megazone 23's side characters are really likable. I like Mei and Tomomi, Yui's roommates. Mei gets less screen time, but it's mentioned that she's a singer, and Tomomi is cute. Honestly, I'd rather her be the love interest than Yui, but what are you gonna do? Tomomi is a filmmaker who's making a movie about what is essentially the plot of Megazone 23. Meta as fuck. I like Tomomi for her spunky go-getter attitude, but she sadly loses 1 point from me for being a film student on purpose.
Fuck you, SHAYK'S.
No thank you.
The side characters do a great job at fully establishing the world that they inhabit. They make us care about the society they live in, and that's really due to the banter and jokes that they all share during and between scenes.
Man, that Eve is hot!
Yeah, and this new song rocks. I snagged this video on my beta.
Let me copy it?
Nope.
Come on, Morley! Hey, copy it!
When it comes to our main antagonist, the leader of the military, B.D. Andrews, I think he's a great, measured, and calculated antagonist to Shogo's youthful and reckless demeanor. He's a jerk who only cares about one thing: complete control over the Megazone, even if he has to take it by force. And though his desire is simplistic, it doesn't give him as much depth as some other villains may have. I found him to be an intimidating slime ball, clawing at power. It helps that his Japanese voice actor, Kaneda Shizoa, perfectly captures that intimidating factor, while his English streamlined dub captures his smug aura.
Ah, Mr. Prime Minister. Do not be concerned. We merely wish to remove some of your burdens.
Overall, B.D. Andrews, you're cool, bro. Now, I wanted to mention the AI-generated pop star Eve, who I'll discuss way more in the analysis part of the video. Not only does she have the best character design in the whole anime, she is one of the cruxes of the mystery of the anime. Her presence in the story really intrigued me and made me want to discover the hidden truths of this universe alongside Shogo. Yeah, time to get into the analysis part of the video.
From the Arabic legend, Bahamut is a mythological being in the form of a fish that makes up a larger group of mythologues who work together to hold the earth up on its axis.
In Megazone 23, much like the legend, Bahamut is the creature, or in this case, the computer, that supports the remains of the world as humanity knows it. It is very literally the ship in which the entire story takes place. Bahamut has a concern for humanity's continued existence, and even goes as far to incarnate itself as an AI idol by the name of Eve. Eve's role isn't entirely altruistic, as it is also used to keep the humans complacent and distracted from larger issues. Soon, the military cracks Bahamut's code and takes control of Eve, using her to make propaganda music.
This is like finding out we live in a MacBook and Hatsune Miku is telling you to join the US Army.
Eve haunts the narrative throughout the duration of the OVA. The populace is mostly ignorant to the fact that she's AI and not a real person. Shogo himself only discovers the truth about her when he enters her control room. Eve later explains to Shogo through the bike the garland, which I forgot to mention earlier in the video, I don't know why, explaining the false reality in which they live. She also goes on to say that they are on a collision course with another ship containing more human survivors from Earth. She warns that they will come under attack from the other ship if the military disables her defenses and pleads with Shogo to do something. Conceptually, Eve is an interesting addition to the plot. Her presence was not in the first few drafts of the story. It wasn't until the later Vanity City draft that she was included. The choice name is a direct connection to the origin story in the Christian Bible. As we may all be aware, Eve's significance in the Bible is meant to signal humanity's fall from grace as she ate from the tree of knowledge. So how does this connect to Megazone 23? Humanity lives in complete ignorance of their precarious existence on a ship rocketing through space as a small part of Earth's survivors. Bahamut, aka Eve, reveals the truth to Shogo, who is then plagued by knowing. As he becomes more aware of how false his reality is, the world and its uncertain future becomes so much more bleak. How is Shogo, just one person, supposed to stop a military coup while also coming to grips that his once cozy life is not only a complete fabrication, but also at stake? Is it better to live in a lie than to live in a truth that you can't control? What was once fiction is now somewhat a reality. The idea of an AI pop star isn't some radical belief of science fiction, it's currently our truth, our reality. The government's role in this anime is to function in direct opposition to Shogo and his journey. They know of Bahamut's existence, of its connection to Eve as an AI, and they know the truth behind the fraudulent reality in which they live. Despite knowing, the government aims to disable and seek control of Bahamut via the military for its own continued expansion of power. A large portion of this OVA shows the military attempting to hack into Bahamut's coding. They achieve this about 80% of the way through and then use Eve as a method of wartime propaganda. They use her as well as their existing control over the news media to keep the public unaware of the larger issues at stake, i.e. the fact that they could die at any second in the middle of space. The government using technology to control and sway the public is not limited to AI photos of your president being a Star Wars character. Corporations like Palantir, a software technology company, actively work with the United States government to use AI to collect data and track you, keeping a file on you, your friends, and family, as well as every move you make online in your day-to-day life with surveillance software that's also used by the IDF in drone strikes on Palestinian men, women, and children. This is next level evil.
Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world. And when it's necessary to scare our enemies, and on occasion, kill them. Alex Karp, CEO of Palantir. Oh my god, what a cartoonishly evil, ghoulish thing to think and say. What is this guy, Skynet? Oh, is it destroy our enemy? Of all the quotes in your video about a fun 80s anime, and you give me the one that was pulled directly from Satan's asshole of evil.
This notion of the government being able to exert complete control is very present in many forms of mid to late 20th century media on a worldwide scale. Books like George Orwell's 1984 or Aldous Huxley's Brave New World come to mind in terms of authoritarian regimes in fiction and personal distrust in the powers at be. Shogo's drive to fight comes back to a head toward the end of the OVA after Tomomi is...
Oh, yeah. Cool. And the composite
composite images turned out great, too. Perfect! Nobody's gonna believe this film. Huh? Mai? Who are you? What are you?
Her movie, while developed and conceptualized as a work of fiction, was too close to revealing the truth behind the world they live in. She had footage of the Garland military equipment as well as Bahamut's computer farm. Despite Tomomi's own ignorance of what she stumbled into, she had damning evidence of the fact that their reality was manufactured, so the government took her out. Shogo threatens to expose the government's actions to the public, to which BD essentially says, "I dare you," but scrambles behind the scenes to make sure all evidence is completely destroyed. After Tomomi's death, Shogo becomes radicalized by this senseless act of violence toward his friend. He takes a stand against BD Andrews and the authoritarian government as one last hurrah and charges into battle against them. Shogo comes face to face with BD Andrews for one final time for a final battle. The idea of whistleblowing stirring up the public into a frenzy that could take down those in power is a laughably 20th century trope. I keep thinking about Sidney Pollack's film 3 Days of the Condor in reference to this. The crux of the whole film is that Robert Redford's character can whistleblow on the corrupted CIA for destabilizing regions in the Middle East for cheaper oil, and that the threat of him doing so would ensure his own survival. Not only is this a great film with a morally gray protagonist, from its setup and execution, I feel like Megazone 23 pulls a bit from this movie, but that's just me theorizing. There is nothing in my research that says that it does. See, this line of thought in Megazone 23 that having real evidence and revealing truth to the public would result in real consequences for the regime by today's standards, it seems optimistic. There is so much that we as the public know about. TikTok and IG Reels and every 24-hour news station lets the public know as often as possible every single injustice and terrible thing that can be reported on. People want to see accountability from the establishment. However, more and more, this doesn't happen. The idea that the public, even when filled with appropriate outrage, has the power to hold the establishment accountable in a system that is completely rigged against them is antiquated. It comes from a time when this perhaps was more possible of an outcome. The public has been neutered of its collective power via information overload. Exponentially increased police and military budgets, such as buying weapons used against 2020 George Floyd protesters, and general wearing down of the collective psyche through contamination and degradation of everyday accomplishments and ideals like lifetime milestones becoming unattainable. For example, things like owning a house or starting a family or simply achieving homeostasis in life has become harder and harder for a majority of people. What threat is a public that is so defeated and controlled to an all-knowing populace? So that leaves us with only options. Do we stay in ignorance as our world burns till it's at our front door, like the citizens in the Megazone? Do we dig for deeper truths? Do we rebel and fight? Do we join the oppressor, or do we stick to those we love, build them up when needed, and pray for a brighter tomorrow? That is up to you to decide. I am just some anime reviewing loser with way too much time on their hands.
So that's how it is. And the second Bahamut falls into your grimy hands, you'll be able to do whatever you want without challenge. No one in the city will even know until the...
Yeah!
You must help me. They're intending to kill.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Megazone 23 is a must-watch. It's inspired concepts and ideas that be further explored in a little-known film called The Matrix. It's not perfect at all. The characters are a bit of a mess. The story handles so many different plots and themes that you just can't fit into such a short OVA, and its pacing can be jarring at times, but the animation is gorgeous. The characters, though problematic at times, are engaging. The soundtrack is heavenly, and overall, this anime is a lot of fun. Far more focused on making sure you have a fun time than expanding on its themes. Never be scared to overanalyze your media, okay? Always look into its themes and what it could mean and what it could apply to you and what you can take from it, because those who are able to analyze and take apart their media are able to gain a new appreciation for it.
Okay, well, the other thing about media analysis is that when you analyze your media, not only do you get more out of it, you get to have the skill of analyzing anything. If you can break something down into its smallest parts, then you can break down propaganda that's get fed to you. You can break down like different themes in like what you see in life, different systems, different patterns. It's all part of the same thing.
Thanks, Rach. Honestly, that was actually really great. Thank you. I adore this anime with all my heart because it represents to me why I love this kind of stuff, why I love 80s anime. It's dated, corny, and overall harmless, but its themes hold up even better today. You really can't help but appreciate the artistry on display and the effort put in by the team. Megazone 23 feels like a passion project, and if it weren't, why was it even bothered to be released as an OVA?
We've got to have money.
This OVA feels like a 20th century sci-fi epic, and I feel like more people need to and should watch this anime because despite me making this huge video, there's still more to discover. Megazone 23 scratches an itch on my tiny brain that I just had to share with you all because it isn't just some 80s anime, it's an experience begging to be consumed, riddled with cheesy lines, fun characters, and relevant themes. So go watch Megazone 23. You won't regret it, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.